Welcome everybody, and thank you for listening to the Better Bushcraft Podcast, the place where you will learn the skills to succeed on your next outdoor adventure. My name is Tommy Clark, your host, and this is episode 20, Bushcraft Emergency Series number 1, Lost. But before we get into today's topic, here's some things that are going on here at Better Bushcraft. I went out bushcrafting with my buddy the other day. It was a couple days ago. We went out to our bushcraft place that we usually go on his parents' land, and we went over to the pond where we set up our bushcraft campsite. And we worked on making some fishing poles that we could leave out there. And we got this idea from Dave Canterbury on his YouTube page. He's doing a series on the water's edge. And he made these really cool fishing poles made out of tree limbs, and he put a little cleat for a fishing reel, and he showed you a way to put an eyelet just using some safety pins. So if you're interested in how to do it, just go over to Dave Canterbury's channel, the Pathfinder School, and look up that video. It was really interesting. So anyways, we went out and we made 2 of these poles, and it took us about 30 minutes or so getting them just right, but they ended up really cool, and we just put some bank line on there and then attached some fishing line to the end of that. So we didn't get a chance to use them, though, because it was getting really late, pretty dark by the time we were done. So we're going to go out, I think, hopefully this weekend and try them out. But anyways, that's what we did over the last several days. I also, if you haven't noticed yet, uploaded all the podcasts that I've recorded previously up to YouTube. So you can also watch or listen to the podcast on my YouTube page. Just go to Better Bushcraft on YouTube, and all 19 previous episodes are loaded up on there. So hopefully it gives you guys another chance to listen to the podcasts and gives some other people some opportunities to listen to it, because I got some comments from listeners saying that where they live, they don't really have that great of internet service and they can't download the podcast very easily, but on YouTube, they have a YouTube app on their phone, and it streams in 4G. So anyway, just another way for you guys to listen to it in case you aren't able to download the podcast through iTunes for one reason or another. So anyways, last thing before we get into today's topic is the question of the week. And that would be, if someone new was to bushcraft, what tip would you give them? What's something that you have learned either the hard way, like some of us have done, or some really cool tip for someone that's just starting out bushcrafting? What would you tell them? So if you could send those ideas to idea@betterbushcraft.com, I'll look them over and hopefully post those in a future podcast. So anyways, let's jump into today's main topic, which I said this is the first of the series of Bushcraft Emergency. And this series is all about getting lost, because sometimes bushcrafting can lead to an emergency situation such as being lost. I've heard stories of people, going out bushcrafting or just camping, hiking, anything like that. And they go out into an unfamiliar territory, and for some reason or another, they end up getting lost and they can't find their way back. And so here's just a few tips for you guys to help you out, help you learn to be able to be visible to someone that will be coming to help rescue you. Now, this first series isn't about how to self-evacuate, but rather, if you get lost and you're not sure what to do, you're scared, this is just going to help you just stay put and make yourself visible so people can come out and find you. And there's a word that will help you know what to do, and I forgot where I learned this, but it's a really easy thing to remember, and the word is stop, S-T-O-P, and each letter stands for something different. It's stop, think, organize, and prepare. So the first thing you want to do once you realize you're getting lost is just stop where you are, just sit down, take a break, and think. A lot of reasons why people get lost, even more than they already are, is because they get kind of nervous and they start just taking off in one direction, not really sure where they're going. And a lot of bad things can happen that way. One, you can get even more lost. You could also get injured by wandering through some thick brush and tripping and breaking your arm or your leg, and then you're in some deep trouble that way. So what you want to do is just stop and think, assess where you are, how long you've been walking. Hopefully you've been taking paces and figure out how far away you are from where you last knew of where you were. And then the next thing you want to do is organize your thoughts. Just go through your pack, Think about all the stuff you have, different things that's going to help you get found. And then once you go through all that stuff, then you want to prepare. Make an action plan and stick to it. You know, as silly as it sounds, if you just go through those 4 steps, you're going to be way better off than you were before. So now that you have some plans in action, and you're going to be able to help get rescued a lot better than just wandering off on your own. So if you're unsure of how to get out, if you can't find your way out, or if it's getting late, you know, if the sun's going down, you really don't want to be trekking out in the dark, this is the best bet, is just to stay put, at least for the night, until you can figure out something better to do. So before you left for, you know, your bushcrafting trip or your hiking trip or whatever you're doing, hopefully you left a plan at home or with someone that you know. You know, just things like when you're expecting to be back, who's with you, if you have other people in your party, and where you are going, etc. That's going to be a big step for people to know, because say you're supposed to get back home on Sunday and it's Monday evening and no one's heard from you, then they can also, you know, start getting people alerted and maybe get a group or search party out there to help find you. So be sure you always do that. You can leave an emergency action plan at home, or someone that you know and someone that's reliable, and that will be a really big step on helping you get found quicker. But here's some tips of being visible in the woods in case you're lost and you want people to know where you are. You know, usually when you're out bushcrafting, most of my gear at least is very drab colors. You know, you got the olive drabs and blacks and tans and all that stuff, which is really great for bushcrafting. You know, you don't really want to call attention to yourself most of the time. You're kind of doing the whole Rambo type thing. But, you know, you want to pack some items in your kit just in case for emergency. And the first item that you want to always bring with you is a bright orange t-shirt. You know, one of those like highway orange shirts, or people wear when they're out hunting, you know, for deer of some sort. Just bring an orange shirt. You can find them almost anywhere now. That I've even seen them like at Walmart, outdoor stores, or any place like that. Something really bright, really visible. And orange is a great color because it's not a very prominent color out in the wilderness. You know, you don't really see bright orange you know, out in the woods just by nature. So if you wear something bright orange and someone sees that, they automatically know that it's out of place, and it'll help you become found a lot quicker. So just bring that orange shirt. You know, you can keep it in your bag, and it doesn't really take up that much space, and it has other uses as well. I mean, it could be used as an improvised water filter or a flag, or you can do a whole bunch of stuff with this. So an orange shirt is the first step into being visible in the woods. Along with that, you know, I have a black, or I should say a brown tarp that I carry with me for bushcrafting, but I'm going to be ordering an orange tarp, or, you know, or whatever your shelter, maybe you have a tent or something bright and visible. You know, I'm thinking about just wrapping the orange tarp with my brown tarp. It won't take up that much more space, and it's really going to be helpful in emergency situations, because you could set up your tarp like normal, you know, like when you're out bushcrafting, like a lean-to or something of that nature. And orange tarp is going to be very visible in the woods, especially if everything's green or brown. You see this really bright orange tarp, and you're like, you know automatically that someone's there. So be sure you have like an orange tarp. And I've even seen the ones where it's like orange on one side, and then it has a reflector side on the other side. So like, especially in the colder months, when you have your fire, that's going to reflect off that reflector and keep you warm throughout the night anyways. So there's tip number 2. Going along with the whole orange theme, you can buy an orange bandana on the Pathfinder School's website and other places too. But an orange bandana or other material can do a lot of things. Obviously, to keep your head covered. It also is really great to make flags around the camp. And what you would do is, scout around the camp, not too far, so you know where you're going, so you don't get lost again. But you can put up several different orange flags around the camp in case someone stumbles across the way. Maybe there's a trail that you don't know about, or there's other people in the area, and they start seeing these orange flags, and they're going to know that someone is out there, and they may even need some help, so they might be calling out for you just in case. Another thing you do to signal is to make a fire. And this is just a standard fire like normal. One of the things that you should know how to do, day in and day out since you are a bushcrafter, but a regular fire. And along with that is to get a signal fire ready. Now this is different. If some of you don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically a teepee structure that you'd make out of, just some deadfall, probably about 6 feet high or so. And then you put a platform, maybe 4 feet off the ground. And then you put some, just some tinder in there, and then you stuff the top of it using pine boughs or other green vegetation. And what that will do is, like, if you know someone's in the area, and this will go for about 10 minutes, so you better be sure that you hear a helicopter or you hear people calling out or something like that, then you can light it right away, and it's going to produce a very heavy smoke, hopefully carrying it above the tree line. And I'll let people know that there's someone there, and that's just another great signal to do. So it's really simple to do. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, just go to YouTube, and you can just search for signal fires, and you'll be sure to find one. And hopefully it helps you out that way. Another couple things that's going to help you become found when you're lost is putting 3 X's on your tarp. And what that will do, just signal for help. There's a lot of universal signals that people use, like an SOS type. And if you put 3 X's on your tarp, people are going to know that you're going to need some rescue. Usually most people know that. And if they don't know that, they're going to come over you probably and figure out, what does 3 X's mean? Some people think of that as other things. So either way, you're going to get someone to find you and help evacuate out of the area. Going along with the whole SOS theme, you could put SOS, like using logs or rocks or anything that you can find in open areas. So if there's like a open area next to where you're camping, just putting big old SOS. And my tip for that is make it bigger than you think it needs to be, because it might seem pretty big to you if it's only 10 feet long or so, but that's pretty small. I would suggest making it as big as you can, taking breaks in between. Don't wear yourself out dragging huge logs over, but taking your time, making a big old SOS in case there's an aerial rescue or something like that. They'll see that and know that you're in the area. And you can even, point an arrow towards where you're camping. So SOS, and then a line over to the east direction if that's where your campsite is, and they'll know pretty much where you're at. Another thing that some people pack into their bags is a signal mirror, and those are one of those things where you kind of have like a little keyhole, so you can look through inside the mirror and you can point it towards the aircraft or people that's trying to find you, and you kind of make a V shape with your fingers as like a guide, and you kind of flash in that direction. 3 flashes repetitively, that's the universal signal for it. And one of the things with signal mirrors is they work really great, but they don't work in the north direction. So because the sun needs to be towards the mirror so you can flash it back into the person's eyes or vision. But just make sure you know what you're doing and practice it when you don't need to, so that way you know exactly what you're doing. Sometimes I see people using a signal mirror and they think they're aiming it right, but it's not, and you can't really tell what's going on there. So another thing that I carry with me is a whistle. You can 3 blasts repeating, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just keep on doing that for a few minutes at a time. One of the great things that whistles accomplish that yelling doesn't is, one, it goes for a longer distance, plus it doesn't take as much energy. If you yell and scream for a long time, your voice is going to get sore, your throat's going to get sore, your voice is going to get hoarse, and you might not be able to yell for a long time. So a whistle is going to allow you to signal for a longer period of time. So those are some of the main things that to do to be visible. But, what do you do while you're waiting for rescue? That's a question that some people ask. Am I supposed to be doing something? What should I do? So tip number 1 for waiting for rescue is don't panic. That's what most people do. They just think over and over and over and over what's going on. I'm never going to get out of here. And that's not good for you. 1, it's not productive. It's not going to help the situation out. Plus, if you keep your mind busy with other things, it's going to allow you to have sustainability and survivability instead of just worrying about the situation and do nothing, and then you realize that you're out of water or something, and then the situation just gets worse. So tip number 1, just don't panic, just keep busy, go over the gear that you have. Just open up your bag, take out everything, and you're most likely going to have everything you need for several days since you're out bushcrafting. We always prepare for, boiling water, making a fire, a shelter, clothing, to procure other food sources and stuff of that nature. So go over your gear that you have. If you have some food, you may need to ration it, but don't really worry about food so much. That's one of the things that people automatically think about when they get lost. Like, I'm going to starve to death. Most likely not. Unless you're out there for several weeks, you might start, getting to that situation. But if you're going to be lost for 1 to 3 days or so, food isn't your top priority. But if you do have food, just plan ahead, think about what you can ration, and just go along about it that way. Second thing that you're going to need to do, or this is the third thing, is to build a fire. Obviously, you're going to need a fire for a lot of things. One of the main things is just comfort, though. You'd be surprised at the stories you hear that people built a fire and they felt like they're more at home. They feel like they're established, and it's almost like a companion, especially if you're by yourself. So just, build a fire. And be sure to gather plenty of fuel, because you don't want to go out in the middle of the night and get lost again while you're gathering fuel. Your fire's going out, and you go wander about in the dark, and then you get lost, and then you have nothing then, because pretty much you probably went out there without anything. So have plenty of fuel so you don't get lost in the middle of the night, and it's just going to be something more comforting that you have something pretty much established. Once you get all that set up, be sure to find water and boil it, because one of the main key things about getting lost is you must keep hydrated more than anything, more than food, more than anything else. You got to keep your body hydrated. It's going to keep your body functioning. It's the priority. And this might even be more of a priority than fire if it's really hot outside. But obviously, you're going to need a fire to boil your water, so they kind of go hand in hand. You need to be hydrated in case you have to self-evacuate in a few days. You don't want to go out there, with a headache and nauseous and disoriented and stuff like that. You want to be hydrated enough to be functioning. Or if there's a rescue, you can get out healthy enough to function, to walk out by yourself and not have to have other people, carry you out or drag you out if the case may be. But, so just keep on finding water and boil it and drinking the water. You're going to need a few liters per day. So, that's going to be something that's going to keep you busy for some time. Find a water source around you, boil it, put it in another container, find some water, boil it, put it in a container, and keep that cycle going while drinking some water. I can't emphasize how important that step is. It's going to keep you where you need to be, keep your wits with you, and everything of that nature. Next thing you can do once you get all that stuff done is, you can go out fishing if there's like a lake or stream or some little fishing hole by you, or you can go out and find some wild edibles. Just be sure you know what you're picking and what you're going to be eating. Anything you normally do while bushcrafting, that's what you could be doing while waiting for rescue. Just be sure to be sensitive to sounds of rescue. Just every so often, just kind of stop, listen to see if you're hearing like helicopter or aircraft or people walking around or people yelling for you or anything of that nature. So just stop every few minutes, be sensitive to the sounds around you, and if something is coming for you, be sure you're ready to light that signal fire or blast that whistle or yell if that's all you have with you is your voice. And, every so often along with that is periodically signal for help with your whistle. You never know when someone is around you. There's been other times when we're out bushcrafting or hiking and someone just kind of sneaks up on you, not on purpose, but you just don't really hear them. So, every so often, just periodically signal for help with a whistle for a couple minutes. Your 3 blasts, and then 3 blasts, and then just keep on doing that for about a minute or so. If you don't hear anything, you just go about your business and then do it again in about 15, 20 minutes or so. But the number one tip that I have for you about all of this is be sure to practice. Practice your skills about getting lost and trying to signal for rescue. You can go out with a buddy and practice next time you go out bushcrafting. Learn to make yourself visible. You can break out all of your emergency gear, wear your orange shirt, put up your orange tarp, make a signal fire, pull out your whistle, have your signal mirror with you. All those things. Put little flags and trails and SOS signals around and see if your buddy can find you. And another tip with that is never give up. Never give up trying to be rescued. Don't ever think that it's over with, because you can go a lot longer than you think you can, and it's all in your head for the most part. But with that, being a bushcrafter is a huge advantage to survival, because you already know a lot of the skills to help keep yourself alive. It's basically what bushcrafting is going out in the wilderness and surviving and making yourself comfortable. So just stay calm and think of it as an extended stay. It might not have been planned. You may not want to have been out there for a few more days, but just think of it as an extended stay. Keep calm, do everything that you normally do, and don't make any rash decisions. So anyways, guys, these were just a few tips about being lost and helping signal for rescue, and more will be coming in an upcoming episode, including how to navigate your way to safety in case rescue doesn't come. So anyways, guys, be sure to check out the website, betterbushcraft.com. We're going to be adding a lot of material there within the next several weeks. And be sure to check out the YouTube page. Just go to YouTube and type in Better Bushcraft. Be sure to subscribe to that. That way you get updates every time I put up a new video. As well as check out the Twitter feed. It's TOMMY, the letter B, CLARK, and you can check out what's going on there. And lastly, on iTunes, be sure to leave a comment on the page. That would be greatly appreciated. So anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Until next time, you guys take care.